I'm Leanne from BatLadyHerbals, and welcome to my video. So today my husband and I took a little excursion out to New Smyrna Beach, Florida, where there is part of the national seashore. And one of the notable things about this little bit of the national seashore is that it's home to a couple amazing archaeological sites that are considered to be like midden piles, or possibly basically ancient refuse piles of the Native Americans that lived in the area. And so today we wanted to share with you one of the boardwalk trails. It's really short, but it's very interesting, of the tallest midden pile in North America, and it's right here in Florida. That's Turtle Mound. So this is the first place you come to when you enter the Canaveral National Seashore from New Smyrna Beach. That has a little bit of parking on the side of the road, and once you get past the dunes, you get into a boardwalk trail. But just to give you an idea of what the dunes are like here in this part of Florida, the dune habitat is very, very precious, and most of the plants that help build the dunes are protected. They're protected not because they're endangered, though some of them are. They're protected because they help to keep the dunes safe, such as the palmettos. So we're walking along the edge of the dune before we get to the actual boardwalk. We're seeing a lot of familiar plants, including lantana, middens, and here's some pellitory. Pellitory is a wind-pollinated plant and it's one of the plants in Florida that tastes like cucumber. Now there's a general rule that if you're in Florida, anywhere in Florida, and you encounter a plant that tastes like cucumber, it's probably edible. But you still want to be careful, because you don't want to taste anything that could possibly be toxic before you're sure of the ID. And intermixed with a bunch of pellitory, we have a little pokeweed growing. And if you follow along the ground a little bit and watch where you step, you get to our native plantago, or plantain. And here's another plant that is absolutely gorgeous and is one of the beautiful wildflowers that we see in coastal parts of Florida. Gaillardia puchella, Indian blanket, commonly known as Indian blanket. And we finally stopped putzing around with the dunes and are on the first bit of boardwalk trail leading to the Turtle Mound. It's always a wonderful sight to see the native bees pollinating all the native flowers as we're walking. But also, one of my favorite plants that we run into in more of the inland areas too, but is common in the dunes, is Cherokee coral bean. The flowers on this are edible when cooked, and this plant has some medicinal uses. And of course, there's also one of the more common hollies in Florida, the Yaupon holly. And some interesting insect life here. Florida is full some amazing wildlife, insects, and plants. Now, I've done a video on a couple of these plants, and I'll make sure to link them down below as well as in the video. You also will easily find some of the native papaya and some wild coffee. It's not the kind we make coffee with, but it is a Rubiaceae family member. And it's called Psychotroia nervosa in Latin. So, Turtle Mound overlooks a part of land where you can easily see both the Mosquito Lagoon, which is brackish water, and the Atlantic Ocean. What we're looking at right now is Mosquito Lagoon. And Turtle Mound is going to continue up. We're going to start climbing on this boardwalk. I believe the elevation is currently at 35 feet. But it has shrunk a little bit in recent years. I believe when it was at its highest point, it was 50 feet. And it's one of the highest points in the area. So the native peoples and the Spanish invaders all used this mound that we're going to climb to the top of as a lookout point. Not only could they see both the lagoon and the ocean, but it was also a really good vantage point all around. So it should have some amazing views. Don't know if you can hear the ocean, but we can. There's some more peaks of Mosquito Lagoon. And over here are peaks of the ocean. Just to give you a rough idea of the layout of the land here. When they built this boardwalk, they built 3 vantage points that have some really beautiful views. And this pagoda is probably the shortest vantage point, but it's also the only one with a bit of shade. And it looks out directly over Mosquito Lagoon. Now, if you come here and get lucky the right times of year, you might be able to see some interesting wildlife, such as manatees and dolphins. The last time we were here, we lucked out and saw some dolphins. Maybe we'll get to see them again. And another reminder of the power and persistence of nature, because look at how the ocean wind has shaped this tree. It's just absolutely amazing. And here's the second lookout point on top of the midden. This time on the left, well, my left is the Atlantic, and my right is Mosquito Lagoon. This is the highest point on Turtle Mound, on this shell midden. And it's going to be one of the greatest vantage points for looking around. And if you can see, all the oyster shells, they've found some interesting stuff here over the years in archeological studies. They've even found the bones and remains of an Arctic bird. Who knows why it was in Florida? Maybe it got lost like that eagle that got lost so recently. But in the distance over here, you can see New Smyrna Beach, Florida. And all the boats and people enjoying themselves on a day like today. You can see on the lagoon side, the water is nice and still and calm. And then all the waves on the Atlantic Ocean. The water is nice and blue today too, so it's a good day to come out. Now, if you've been keeping up with any of the environmental news in Florida, you might have heard about the problem that the manatees have been having recently, not being able to get enough food because of the die-off of the grasses and the excessive boat traffic. So if you want to learn more about that, I'll link some information down below for you. So just next to the boardwalk, there's a little side trail that leads you out and down into an area where they're building some habitat restoration is going on. And through here, you can see all kinds of mangroves. Certainly red and black are present. But there's also some buttonwood, which is always categorized with the mangrove, even though it's not technically a mangrove itself, and some other plants. As you're going through here, you can see the restoration efforts. Since this area is still part of the shell midden, they are taking oyster shells wrapped in plastic so that they're still able to allow roots and stuff to get to it, to help rebuild some of this area and restore it. I'm getting close to the end of this little trail, and there's some really interesting plant life over here. Like this, for instance. This is one you want to watch out for, because look at those spikes. That could hurt if you're not careful. But these are the pods of this plant. And it's a really interesting plant. I'm always happy to see it.
Should have looked it up first. It's in the book.
It is in the book. But as you walk through here, you get some more of those beautiful views of Mosquito Lagoon. I mentioned earlier this is brackish water, so it's neither salty nor fresh. It's kind of a combination of both. And it tends to be more calm over here because it's a lagoon as opposed to across the way with the ocean. So thank you for joining me today. Once again, I'm Leanne from BatLadyHerbals. If you like this video and would like to see more, feel free to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be kept up to date with all my uploads. Now, I do have a blog at BatLadyHerbals.com if you are interested in reading more about any of the plants that I have introduced here. You can also feel free to find me on Teespring and order some t-shirts and designs that help to promote herbalism and hiking here in Central Florida. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day.